Ghostlights. The penetrating cold of the dark winter night and the howling northern winds are no doubt the things that people try to avoid. Staying cozy inside with the heated homes, cuddling with loved ones, and sharing cups of hot beverages. And yet, for the Northerns, facing these unwelcome conditions is part of the daily routine. You get used to it in time. I would never say that it becomes a pleasure, but it is definitely something you can live with and be relatively content. You do need, however, to find ways to make yourself warmer, to keep the cold outside. It is therefore relevant to emphasize that here in Finland we have infused a sauna within our daily activities. It is often the case that we make arrangements for sauna sessions almost every day, and usually every individual house is equipped with one. If you want to feel warm inside and so comfortable that you feel confident, you can battle the Nordic winter wearing just a towel around your waist. You have sauna time to give you the feeling. Well, that and alcohol, but that's another story. It was then a very big benefit when me and some of my students went on a field trip and learned that we could book the facility sauna for 1.5 hours straight. You see, sauna may be a tradition of Finland, but sauna sessions with friends are much more heartwarming, and it's rare that you can book it for more than 45 minutes or an hour if you are lucky. So 1.5 hours sounding like a Christmas came early. I am a university professor and I teach earth sciences in a university here in Finland. This includes a mixture of geography, geology and climatology. For the sake of the anonymity of my students, I will not mention which faculty I belong to. They can decide to reveal their identities themselves if they ever stumble upon this. Part of the course is a non-compulsory visit to one of the research facilities of the university, located in a forested area around 2 hours from our facility car. It is a tranquil place where researchers conducted experiments, observed local flora and fauna populations, and discussed their ideas. It is also possible for students to book rooms for some days, to find some peace and quiet, to work on a thesis. For our course it was a 1-week trip. Any interested student could join, and we ended up filling 2 small vans, summing 18 people. The schedule included taking samples of soil, moss and water, and compiling the data and a relative map. The very first day we finished our work, exhausted, I could see that my students needed some well-earned relaxation. The sauna was booked for us, in 2 sessions, one of the boys and one for the girls. The girls needed some to prepare themselves, so it was decided that the man would go first. While the students were getting ready, I drove with a colleague who helps me to run the course to the local store and bought some beers for all of the guys, that we could all drink together. At 7 p.m. we met with male students who wanted to come along. We started to walk from the dorms to where the sauna room was located, around 15 minutes walk from here. It was already dark, as the night falls so early in such high latitudes. The cold was breaching under our clothes, and we longed for the sweet warmth of the sauna. At the first time, we tried to explain to the international students, who were there for the first time, how important sauna was to Finland culture and how refreshed they would feel after. The way to the sauna cuts through the forest. There was a semi-clear path, but no lights to trail it, so we used some mobile phone flashlights. At times the path would be lost due to the leaves that covered it, as they had fallen from the trees by late autumn in a colorful rain. In this case, we all had to try and locate the continuation of the path, stressing our eyes, aided by the weak light of the mobile phones. It would be wrong to say that I was completely dark, however. There were some lights. Light blue bulbs of light being set all around us, seemingly randomly. The diameter was around 30 centimeters across. There was no clear geometry in any way they were placed, and as their poles were as dark as the night, it looked like they were floating in the air. It was strange to me that, while they looked luminous, the light didn't really stretch far from the spot. It just served as a small spotlight in a very small radius around the object, not illuminating anything around them. I had seen them, of course, while bringing previous students there, but I didn't really observe them until now. That's because a student brought it up as a question while we were walking. "So, what are these bulbs supposed to be?" he asked. "They clearly are not here to guide our way." I took a moment to think before answering. "They are probably for the biology students who want to observe the behavior of moths," I said. Frantically, I hadn't seen anyone observing moths there, but it was the only educated guess I could make. "So, are they supposed to lead to anywhere? A bunker or something maybe?" asked another student, one of the internationals. My colleague interrupted the discussion. "I'm not young anymore, but he's definitely older than me. Tonight he seemed a bit stricter than I had come to know him over the years. It was very unusual." "No, they don't," he said firmly. "And by no means should you try to make a path out of them or try to follow them. It is very dangerous, and for years it has been mentioned from the facility that it is forbidden to do so." I looked at his figure, dimly lit from the light of his mobile. His face was like a mask of deprived of feelings. He wasn't like that normally. He was always friendly, talkative. For some reason, the statement he made was important, even though it sounded like a rule that the parent would set for curious, immature children. However, I had an extremely odd feeling. I don't remember if I had ever heard what he said behind the walls of the university. I believe I had a rumor in my mind regarding exactly this subject, but I can't recall ever hearing it from somebody. Somehow I knew by heart what he had just mentioned, and yet I don't think I had heard it again before. I just couldn't remember. This thought got wrapped around my mind. We continued on the way to our destination, but I couldn't shake the strange feeling of me. As we kept walking, I let my eyes wander upon the strange lights, and my heart skipped a beat. Had one of them just moved? It was the slightest motion, and I caught it with the corner of my eye. A minimal wobbling of the bulb. No, it couldn't be. I am getting old and my eyesight is not as sharp as it used to be back in the day. Still, I felt creeped out until we reached the place. My heart rested when we finally got to our destination. The traditional Finnish sauna is always built up next to the lake near the forest, and it is 100% made of wood. So was this one, exactly as it was supposed to be. Just watching the familiar sights made me feel relaxed. It is good to spend some quality time with students, off the record, away from familiarities of the academia. You get to see what are the true thoughts and inspirations Something that can get buried under the weight of the students' homework and the teachers' research. We generally had great time together. We did talk, of course, about the ups and downs of the facility, but we also discussed more things outside the usual, while the steam scorched us. Then the brave ones dived at the lake. It was fun to see the international students getting their Honorary Fin award, albeit with some screaming and cursing in their native languages, when the icy water embraced him completely. Then the best moment right after the sauna came. That perfectly relaxed state, drinking beer while silently admiring the beauty of the winter wonderland that is the Nordic forest. We did talk some more about everything and nothing, and after the few loops of the whole routine, our time was up. We met the girls that were coming to the sauna, while we were walking home and cheerfully waved to them. A few minutes later, we were at the bunkers. Upon arriving there, we all agreed that we had a great time. However, as we were queuing for lunch, I had a question that filled me with silent, yet persistent dread. Did anyone see Timo? Asked one of the students. At first nobody was serious. There are many places he would be. Perhaps he decided to stay in his room, or he was using the restroom. But the longer we discussed, the more curious the case became. He is not in our room, said his roommate. I checked. He was at the sauna, right? Noted someone else. For some reason I couldn't remember. Had he come with us? I think we said something and he was present in the sauna. Or did we just say something about him? Why couldn't I remember? Turns out that nobody was certain about what happened. Some said he was definitely with us at the sauna, and some argued that they weren't so sure if he had come. Suspicious as that sounded, we were all agreeing at one point. Nobody heard him or saw him during the walk home. I looked at my colleague. From his eyes I could tell he was feeling exactly like me. No matter how experienced you are, losing a student is the most stressful situation a teacher can have. Fear started to spread inside me, but I knew that letting that show would be catastrophic. Moreover, I still believed that this was nothing. Timo would appear sooner or later. He was just probably around there somewhere. He wasn't found that night. I did my best to search for him after the girls came back. I reported that they hadn't seen him either. The students also helped me as well as they could, but I sent them to bed some time later. As I was still caring for the schedule for the following day, we tried calling him many times, but he did not answer. I called the police next morning, after having a wide night searching for the young man. When the officers arrived, of course they questioned me and the other instructor, as well as the early woken up students. They were suspicious of us first, but everyone assured them that we had been with the students all along and we took good care of everything. I was very thankful for that intervention. The police told us they would start a search for Timo. I gathered all my students and asked them if they wanted to go home because of what happened, or stay and finish the field trip, while also trying to search around the forest for their friend. They all agreed they wanted to stay, as they felt the need to help. Although I do also suspect that they didn't want to have to retake the field trip again next year and delay the graduations. We ended up following our normal schedule mostly. We were extravagant for traces that could help the police and kept calling Timo on his phone, but it was not fruitful. The forest started feeling less welcoming day after day as Timo wasn't showing up. His parents had been warned, but they lived far away, and the police suggested that they shouldn't come at the place yet. In all my years of teaching experience, I dreaded having to confront them in person. At this point, as awful as it sounds, I have to admit that with time, people get more relaxed. We kept on with our routine, and there were times that we forgot about the whole situation. I feel so guilty about this, but I do believe that the mind is designed to not keep worrying for the same thing all day, as that would make it collapse. Of course, every time when the day was over and I laid at my bed, exhausted from the hard work, I had terrible thoughts rushing inside me once again. Each day worse than the last. With all this, we reached the final day of the trip. Timo was nowhere to be found. Everybody was feeling under the weather, and rightfully so. We only worked for half the day. As the evening came, I remembered we had also booked a sauna for that day as well. I was very skeptical about going to the same place that the calamity started, but my students actually really wanted to go, as they suggested that it would help them relax a little. After all, the stress and physical exhaustion as well. So we went. This time everyone was counted for, and we were extremely careful, all of us. In the dark nights that crawled in even faster than before, we silently walked through the strange lights of the forest. No one was joking this time, and I had the feeling that the lights were slowly moving closer. The sauna once again proved to be a remedy for our troubles. We even managed to make some jokes again, something that was completely lost since the day Timo was lost. I think that this small moral booster was more important than anything else. On the way back, I felt something that has been haunting me for many years. My knee suddenly in terrible pain. I had that old basketball injury that really hurt when it was decided to kick in. I must have groaned, because I saw many curious eyes looking at me. "It's nothing, lads," I said, trying to sound in less pain than I actually was. "I'll be with you in a second. It's just an old gift from my sporting career. That must have been the most immature and idiotic opinion in my life. But I didn't want people to see me like that, and everybody feeling so good at that time, that I would never want to make them feel worried again the same night." I watched them all move ahead, as I was trying to focus my breathing and bring my leg to a more painless position. I looked at the joint, as it was pulsing lightly. It didn't take that long. I already felt better. A few moments and was over. I looked up and saw the light moving ahead. Their flashlight. I walked carefully, as I didn't want to run and force another pain-striking experience. It was very dark, so I used my phone to see, but still the light was not enough. I was set on following the flashlight ahead of me. Very, very slowly, I started closing the distance between us. It was at that time I started realizing that something was off. The light in front of me moved in peculiar ways, turning and twisting many times more than should be normal, or following the simple path. I looked down at my feet. What path? I was walking on old leaves and roots, but there was no clear way around me. I tried moving my light around, but the path was nowhere to be seen. I started yelling at the guys in front of me to stop, but I got no answer. At this moment, I stopped caring for my knee. For the first time since that cursed field trip had started, I succumbed to my own dread. I panicked. I started running towards the light, yelling for it to stop at times. To my horror, the more I approached it, the more I realized what a grave mistake I had made. The light slowly changed color and turned to blue as I was getting closer. I knew it was one of the lights no one was supposed to approach. But now it was my only hope. What is desired to help me find my way back? I hoped it was the case, but deep inside me, I guess I already knew it had tricked me to carry me away. I finally reached it. I had the slightest hope that I was completely wrong, that I was still following my students, that decided to go the long way around. But all my dreams crumbled to dust when I saw the light becoming idle a few meters before I got to it. The thing remained there, completely immobile, like it had always been there since the dawn of time. It felt like it was mocking me. I tried to touch it to see what the hell it was, but right before making contact, I felt my fingers freeze like they were ice. The thing was so cold, yet emitting a light. The effect was very local, as I didn't feel colder than normal on my face or body. It was the most otherworldly experience in my life. I was now completely lost. It was dark and cloudy, so there were no hope of navigating. I opened Google Maps on my phone, but although I had signal, the map gave only nonsense. My only chance was to keep on walking until I found civilization, and thus I walked. For many hours, the lights were all around me, and it seemed that they were always moving out my way, letting me through. After a long time, there was some more natural light coming, and I thought dawn would break soon. But it never did. It looked like this place where the sun never shines. It was only dark of the night. All this before dawn twilight zone thing. I desperately tried to call someone, but no call was going through. I felt like I had stumbled in a different plane of existence, where only reality was the dreadful silence and the eerie ghostlights, slowly dancing to the music of nothing. At this point, I found the one who I'd never thought to see. It was unmistakably him, walking in his hoodie and oversized hat. "Timo?" I yelled, running towards him. "What happened to you? Where have you been?" He looked at me, but he gave no response. His eyes were sunken in his sockets, all life drowned out of him. I hugged him, crying, "What's wrong, my friend? Where are we?" Again, I got nothing. The moment I let go of my arms, he started walking again. I reached him again and tried talking to him. He just kept on. I grabbed him by the hoodie and tried to make him follow me. He didn't even show a sign of stress, as I was dragging him behind me. Every time I would let go for a second, he would start walking to an unknown direction. I tried to see if he had a specific goal, but after rotating him, I realized that he would just keep going forward, at whatever direction he was turned to, like a living ghost. I took him with me and dragged him around, seeking a civilization that wasn't there. Hours passed, but nothing would change. At some point, I felt so tired that I fell down. Timo kept on walking, and before I could do anything, he was lost in a thick fog. I yelled at the top of my lungs and tried to find him, but he had disappeared. I lost him for the second time, and once more I walked. Hours passed, and a whole day. I didn't feel thirsty or hungry. I was just tired. For some reason, the only feelings I had were exhaustion and fear, both ever growing. I felt like I was born in this place, out of pure despair and darkness, and it felt almost normal now. When I thought I couldn't go on, I saw a place that looked even darker than my surroundings. Without knowing why, I approached it. Anything now would be better than this endless monotony. What I saw then made my last hope fade away into the creeping horror around me. The blackness in front of me was a creature that expanded for tens of meters, both in height and width. It was a living shadow, and black tentacle-like expansions of itself were floating all over the place. It seemed like it had no physical substance, yet it was living and breathing. Like night was dark, it was so much darker. The shadows coming out of it embraced the environment, and the small lights were gathered more densely around it. Their light was glooming and dimming in a slow pattern, unlike what I had seen before. I don't know how I knew that, but it felt ancient, much older than any human and possibly even the forest surrounding it. I collapsed to the cold ground for the first time. I noticed a black thing wrapped around my ankle. I looked like a cord, but I couldn't feel it on my skin. Horrified, I followed the shadow with my eyes. I saw that its root was on the thing before me. I tried to take it off, but when my fingers never touched any material other than my skin, the bond was not made of matter, but it did grab me tight, as I was sensing it in my soul. At this point that I realized it had a complete hold of me, I felt attuned to it. There was no voice in my head, no organized thought, just horrifying images and deep fear, so primal and overwhelming that no other human being should ever experience. I felt my mind falling into insanity, like it was being dragged by a ghostly arm to the depths of an unending madness. I know now, this creature was a matrix. It was here before dawn of man, and will long after the last one perishes. The blue ghostlights wear its young, luring living creatures to the nest. Both they and the mother can't eat flesh and bone. They were feeding on pure energy, extracted by their prey. And now, the prey was me. I looked at the black bondage again. I felt my energy being strained away from me. I had to escape, but I was feeling so tired. Somehow, words formed in my head, but I wasn't sure they were mine. It's her name, it's Zef Shogul. She and her young will grow forevermore, and one day breach into her own reality, consuming everything and spreading chaos all across Earth. God save us when she decides to do so. I got up and started to walk away. I couldn't run. I didn't have the strength to do so. The thing didn't hunt me. I didn't have to. I already knew I was doomed. Still, I have to try. My phone was still alive, as I always carried 2 power banks with me in case of emergencies. Kudos to me for being so organized, I guess, as I'm walking away towards the direction I don't really have. Black shadows, still wrapped around my leg. I'm writing this. I'm not even sure it will get through, but it's my last chance to warn the world. Be aware of the mother with her silent children. Don't follow the ghostlights, for they will lead you to your doom. I have to escape. I'm sure that I can get back to where I came from. I need to believe. But I am just so tired. I have to go on though. I will just walk a bit more and I will be home. I will just walk a bit more. Just a bit more. God, I'm so tired.